Welcome to our training on slips, trips, and falls awareness. This course is intended to teach individuals about the dangers of slip, trip, and fall hazards, and how to prevent related accidents and incidents. Being aware of these dangers is important for maintaining a safe and healthy workplace. This course is useful for all individuals, regardless of your organization's industry, size, or jurisdiction. This training module does not discuss safety at heights and fall protection. Please note that this training module has been designed to address slip, trip, and fall hazards that occur on the same or a similar level as the individual. Throughout this course, you may pause at any time to take notes or return to a previous slide in order to review. Following this course is a final quiz. You must complete the quiz in order to receive your certificate of completion. You will encounter interactive scenarios throughout the course, where you'll have to navigate multiple options and branching paths to reach the best possible outcome. These scenarios do not affect whether you receive your certificate of completion, but are meant to help you reflect on the material you have learned. In this training course, you will learn why slips, trips, and falls are a health and safety concern, the causes of slip, trip, and fall hazards, how administrative and engineering controls can eliminate risks, and various prevention methods, including housekeeping and best practice tips. By thoroughly examining each learning objective, this training course will provide you with the skills and knowledge to effectively identify, manage, and eliminate slip, trip, and fall hazards in your workplace. Let's get started. Slips, trips, and falls are among the most common causes of workplace injuries. These can result in sprains, strains, bruises, concussions, fractures, and other serious injuries. No matter what kind of workplace you work in, the potential for slip, trip, and fall injuries exists and should be taken seriously. Preventing injuries related to slips, trips, and falls is an ongoing health and safety objective. Understanding what these entail is the first step in learning how to identify these hazards in your workplace. Objects or instances that you may have thought commonplace and unlikely to cause injury may in fact be hazardous. These hazards can be the result of a physical condition in the workplace, personal behavior, or a combination of both. In this section, we examine what contributes to slip, trip, and fall incidents. A slip occurs when you lose traction between your foot and the surface you are on, causing you to slide and lose your balance. Common causes include wet, slick, or oily surfaces, spills, inclement weather, such as rain, ice, or snow, loose, missing, or unanchored rugs, carpets, tile, or mats, and flooring or other walking surfaces that are sloped or have varying levels of traction. A trip is an interruption of the motion or collision of your foot that impedes or redirects you and makes you lose your balance. Common causes include obstructed or partial view, poor or irregular lighting, clutter, waste, or debris in the path of travel, wrinkled, uneven, or missing carpeting or flooring, uncovered, loose, or unsecured cables, bottom drawers of furniture not being closed, and uneven walking surfaces. The important distinction between slips and trips is that when you slip, your foot makes an unexpected motion that is either greater than what you intended or in a direction you did not intend. Whereas with a trip, your foot is prevented from making its full intended motion. A fall occurs when someone involuntarily drops or descends to a lower place. A lower place does not necessarily mean a significant drop, like a cliff or the side of a building. Often, falls happen on the same level where a person is dropping from standing, the higher position, to a lower position, such as prone on the ground. Falls often, but not always, result from a slip or trip, so the causes are usually the same. In addition to a physical condition, slips, trips, and falls can be caused by personal behavior. This may include actions like rushing when performing tasks and not paying attention, poor work habits, like not cleaning up messes or spills, transporting objects that block your view or the view of others, and engaging in reckless behavior or horseplay. You should be aware of the risks these actions pose to your own safety and the safety of others. To eliminate the risk of slip, trip, and fall hazards, it is important to consider the layout and physical conditions of your workplace and exhibit the right personal behaviors. This can be achieved by using administrative controls, engineering controls, and personal protective equipment, or PPE. This section examines different controls you can use to limit slips, trips, and falls. You need to be aware of protective measures and take an active role in workplace health and safety by practicing and using these controls. Administrative controls ensure you and your workplace are well equipped to recognize, address, and avoid slip, trip, and fall hazards. This can be achieved in a variety of ways and will depend on your workplace. Here are common administrative controls that your workplace may have in place to better protect you. Follow safe work practices, procedures, and policies that address slip, trip, and fall hazards in your workplace. These documents should describe known hazards, identify where they are, and provide guidelines on how to avoid hazards. Policies require you to report potential hazards you encounter to management. Participate in training that educates you on hazards and how to avoid them. Being aware of the dangers allows you to adequately protect yourself from harm. Regularly inspect your workplace for slip, trip, and fall hazards. These can often result from everyday accidents, so it is your responsibility to monitor the safety of the workplace. Engineering controls attempt to stop hazards at the source or remove them altogether. These are efforts made by management to protect the safety of you and your coworkers. Your workplace may have implemented some of the following engineering controls to better protect you, including removing or replacing hazardous materials or structures. This includes flooring or carpets and mats that have poor traction. Walking areas should be free from surface obstructions or holes. Similarly, mats and carpets can prevent floors from becoming slick and slippery at entrances and exits. Improving or adding a barrier can effectively limit slip, trip, and fall hazards. Where sloped walking surfaces exist, handrails and ramps make the workplace safer. Simply reorganizing the furniture in a room to allow enough space for you to move around can eliminate hazards. Maintaining adequate working conditions is important to ensure there are no gaps in protecting your safety. Adequate drainage, ventilation, and lighting are all examples of conditions your organization should regularly maintain to minimize hazards. Another important hazard control is personal protective equipment, or PPE. If walking and surface conditions at your workplace are subject to regular slip, trip, and fall hazards that can't be eliminated using administrative or engineering controls, PPE may be required. Some workplaces require specific footwear, as they are at increased risk for slips, trips, and falls, such as construction, hospitals, and kitchens. However, environments that seemingly pose no risk, such as offices or retail spaces, also present hazards. Even if safety boots or non-slip shoes are not required for the job, you should wear appropriate workplace footwear, such as moderate heel height non-slip soles, and shoes with a backing to prevent an incident. Regardless of your environment, remember to always use appropriate footwear for the task at hand. Let's try a scenario to practice recognizing and preventing slips, trips, and falls. Meet Jill. Jill is a manager at Clog Incorporated, a manufacturing company that makes wooden footwear. Today, Jill is late for work because a snowstorm hit late last night, and her commute took much longer than usual because of the icy roads. Worse yet, Jill needs to prepare for a health and safety presentation she is delivering for her employees this morning, so she is in a rush. Jill finally pulls into the parking lot and is annoyed to find the lot has not been cleared of snow. She needs to bring in the materials for her presentation, which include 2 light bags with a projector and screen.
I'm so late! I still have to set up the projector and screen and review my presentation and print off my notes. If I hurry, I might be able to get through it all.
What should Jill do? A. Jill should temporarily park in front of the door to unload her bags from her car, and then walk carefully across the lot after she has parked in one of the spaces. B. Jill should find a parking spot and then make a couple of trips to bring in all the bags carefully across the lot. C. There is no time to waste. Jill should park her car and make one trip with both bags as fast as possible.
I don't want to risk slipping on the snow carrying these bags. I'll just unload my things by the doors so my hands will be free in case I lose my balance.
This is the best option. Jill knows that even though she is running late, it is better to be safe than sorry. The parking lot could have a layer of ice under the snow, and carrying the bags may affect her balance and cause her to slip or fall, resulting in an injury. Taking environmental conditions into consideration is important when identifying hazards. By unloading her materials near the door, Jill has reduced her risk of slipping on ice. Remember that workplace health and safety rules are not limited to inside the building of your workplace. Areas like parking lots pose risks as well, especially for slip, trip, and fall hazards.
Ugh, the mats aren't out to wipe off my boots. I'm making a mess.
What should Jill do? A. Jill should dry off her wet boots as best as she can to prevent tracking any more water in. Set out a caution wet floor sign and notify building maintenance about the slippery floor and the missing mats. B. Jill should set out a caution wet floor sign for other employees to see. C. Jill can leave it for now and come back later to clean up. She has lots of work to do, and no one will be in for a while.
I should let maintenance know the mats are missing so that people can wipe off their boots when they come in and no one else slips.
This is the best option. You should never walk away from a spill or leave it for others to clean up. It is everyone's responsibility to address slip, trip, and fall hazards in the workplace. Jill minimized the hazard by placing the sign to warn others and notified the appropriate authority, in her case, maintenance, that the entrance needed a mat to protect other employees from the hazard.
Finally, now I've got the projector screen and the presentation from my laptop set up. What am I forgetting? Oh, my presentation notes! I have to run to the printer to grab them. I still have a few minutes before people start to show up. Oh, these loose cables are everywhere.
What should Jill do? A.
I'll tape down the cables and put up a sign to warn employees of the hazard in case they arrive while I step away.
B.
I'll tape down the cables before I step away.
C.
I'll only be away for a minute and no one has arrived yet. It's fine to leave it for now. I'll just secure these in case anyone shows up before I'm back. I don't want anyone to trip over all these cords. I think I'll put a sign up to warn people to watch their step as well.
This is the best option. Jill knows that loose cables are a serious tripping hazard, and that someone not paying attention could easily trip over these and fall. Taking the time to secure the cables and warn people of the hazard with a sign will help employees safely navigate the area. Eliminating or reducing hazards in the workplace is a continual and ongoing exercise. Once implemented, administrative and engineering controls provide a solid foundation for preventing slips, trips, and falls. For these measures to be effective, it's important to ensure hazards are regularly identified and safe work practices are consistently followed. This means that you must constantly be aware of risks posed to yourself and others. In this section, we'll discuss strategies for preventing slip, trip, and fall hazards. Minimizing slip, trip, and fall hazards is largely the result of strong housekeeping practices. As important as administrative and engineering controls are to eliminate the potential for hazards, it is good housekeeping that ensures incidents never happen or are greatly reduced. Being aware of hazards and understanding sound housekeeping practices play an important role. For housekeeping to be effective, it needs to be a routine. All workplaces are different, but here are some general housekeeping practices that you should follow. Clean up spills immediately. Mark spills and wet areas with signs. Mop or sweep debris from floors. Remove obstacles from walkways and keep clear of clutter. Secure mats, rugs, and carpets. Close file cabinets and other drawers. Remove, cover, or secure cables and wires that cross or intersect walkways. Keep work areas and walkways well lit. And replace burnt-out light bulbs immediately. A combination of administrative and engineering controls and housekeeping practices will help your organization avoid slips, trips, and falls. But these are only effective if you actively participate and uphold them. Remember, everyone is responsible for workplace health and safety. Employers, managers, and supervisors are responsible for creating policies and procedures that outline the requirement for identifying slip, trip, and fall hazards in the workplace, developing and maintaining strong housekeeping and work practices, providing workers with appropriate PPE and training on how to use it properly, administering training to workers on hazards in your workplace, continually reviewing and updating safe work practices to ensure they are effective, and investigating incidents to determine cause and apply remedies. All workers are responsible for understanding and following company policies, safe work practices, and housekeeping rules, being aware of slip, trip, and fall hazards, and reporting them to management, assisting management in meeting their obligation to ensure safe work rules are followed, appropriately using, cleaning, and maintaining all required PPE, and participating in all provided workplace training. Here are some general best practices for avoiding slips, trips, and falls in the workplace. Take your time and pay attention to where you are traveling, especially if it's an unfamiliar or uncommon area to you. Adjust your stride and pace to the walking surface you are traveling over or conditions. Make wide turns when traveling around corners to prevent collisions with other persons or objects. Ensure that objects you are carrying or pushing do not block your view. If they do, ask for assistance from another worker to guide you to your destination. Use handrails or guardrails whenever traveling upstairs, on ramps, or over insecure or hazardous surfaces where available. Use a flashlight when entering a space where there is minimal or no light, such as a confined space or storage area. And do not use chairs or tables in place of a ladder. Let's try one last scenario to test your knowledge on preventing slips, trips, and falls. Meet Jack. Jack works in the warehouse at Clog Incorporated as a forklift driver on the midnight shift. He's getting ready to finish his shift when he spots some shrink wrap that has unraveled from one of the skids and spilled into the aisle.
Oh man, now I have to deal with this? Why are people always leaving things lying around?
What should Jack do? A. Jack should remove the shrink wrap from the aisle and throw it away. B. Jack should push the shrink wrap aside. C. Jack should walk away. Someone on the day shift can take care.
I'll get this out of the way and throw it out before anyone trips over it or it gets caught in a forklift.
This is the best option. Jack knows that he needs to remove the clutter from the aisle so that others won't trip over it. Throwing the shrink wrap away is better than just removing it from the aisle, in case it spills out into the aisle again.
It's like a strobe light. Well, that was short-lived. I know I'm supposed to change the lights when they go out, but what a pain.
What should Jack do? A. Jack should block off the area before he gets a ladder to change the light bulb. B. Jack should block off the area and send his supervisor an email that the light is out and needs to be changed. C. Jack should walk away. It's not that dark, so other workers should be able to see fine.
You shall not pass. I'll just let the supervisor know that this needs to be changed. I know we have a supply closet with spare bulbs.
This is an acceptable response, but not the best. Reduced visibility can increase the likelihood of a slip, trip, or fall incident. Jack has effectively controlled the area where the hazard exists and informed his supervisor of the hazard. It would have been better for him to take responsibility by changing the light bulb right away to address the hazard. Before Jack can leave, he needs to attend the mandatory health and safety presentation that is happening in the main office upstairs. He hasn't been in this part of the building before, so it took him a while to find the staircase that leads to the office. What should Jack do? A.
I'll take one step at a time and keep my hand on the rail. Slow and steady wins the race.
B.
I'll be fine if I don't hold on to the railing.
C.
I believe I can fly. Let's see how fast I can climb these. Maybe I'll be early for the presentation. These stairs look steep. I'll use the handrail to be safe.
This is the best option. It is important to take your time when climbing or descending stairs. Holding onto the railing ensures that if Jack were to lose his balance, he can hold on to regain stability and avoid falling. We've reached the end of this course on slips, trips, and falls awareness. Recognizing and preventing slip, trip, and fall hazards is essential to protecting the ongoing health and safety of all workers. Upholding administrative and engineering controls allows you to assess hazards in your workplace to prevent incidents and accidents. Routine housekeeping practices ensure that potential hazards are dealt with before they can cause injury. Ultimately, it is your employer's responsibility to ensure that the right controls and safe practices for slip, trip, and fall hazards are in place. But it is your responsibility to follow and implement these practices to maintain a safe environment. Thank you for your participation. Please proceed to the final quiz.